What's up, gang? Case here with our CrossFit strength work for Monday, August 9th. 4 sets of 6 back squats, supersetting with 4 sets of 30 seconds on our handstand practice. This is the last week for this cycle, so we'll be deloading next week, shifting over to some new movements, but then we'll be carrying on this max strength phase for another 4 weeks. So we've got at least, we've got this performance week, and then we've got 4 more weeks of our max strength cycle, which means higher technicality in terms of movements, as well as lower reps, higher weight for most of our movements. On our back squats today, here's what, or actually before we dive into those, on those 4 sets of 6, ideally we'll hit the same weight that we hit last week for 4 sets of 5. By the time you hit that 6th rep, it should be about the last rep you have before technical breakdown. So we shouldn't see anybody missing lifts, getting stuck in the bottom. You should be confident that you're standing up all of these reps, because that 6th rep is not the last rep that you can stand up. It's that last rep that you have before your form starts to break down at all. So good technique all the way through. Hands just outside the shoulders. Stretch those shoulders out as we step through. And then our cueing today, once we find our setup, I want you to think, get tall through the top of the head, get tight, which means pulling down on the bar and squeezing our belly at the same time. So it's get tall, get tight, then squat. Remember, hips shift back, eyes stay in line, or neck stays in line with the rest of the spine. In this bottom position, we're not looking up, we're looking down to keep that head in line. Bar stays right over the center of the foot. If we can, get our hip crease below our knee, and then drive fast to the top. It's controlled down, a little bit faster on the way up. Make sure that we're not falling to the bottom today. Also make sure that we're not bouncing out of the bottom. It should be a controlled turnover in the bottom. That way you know you've got the strength to complete that whole movement and you're not relying on that bounce. Once you start your sets today, no resting in between reps. If you're resting in between reps, then you're essentially breaking it up into a couple different sets. So once you start those 6 reps, moving constantly throughout, the only break you're taking is when you get to the top. Breath in, get tight, go. That should only be 2 to 3 seconds at the most. After that, rest 90 seconds before we move into our handstand work for today. We've been progressing through a lot of different handstand progressions. We've been building through handstand progressions over the last several weeks. So we're working on that freestanding handstand if we have it. If not, you can take it back over to the wall. Chest facing preferred for holds. You can even try those floaters where you start to kick off the wall and find your balance a little bit. And if you're not quite ready to get up on the wall, keep your toes up on the box, and we'll practice those pike holds instead. We've been trying to figure out how to keep our body tight and hollow while we're upside down. So we want to stay away from getting arched while we're up there. So as we kick up today, before we go ahead and get those arms set in that long position. Find that tight midline, and then try to keep those long arms as you kick up into that handstand. Don't get to that point where you're kicking so far over that your back starts to arch out. We want to stop before we get to that point, and we want to start working on getting those toes together, squeezing our belly, squeezing our butt so that we can maintain that supported core while we're upside down. Remember, as we kick up, we want those middle fingers to be about shoulder width, fingertips straight forward. We step into that lunge, start with a slightly more abbreviated motion, and then start bringing yourself up higher and higher, staying away from that arch position at the top. Remember, safety thing on this one, if you ever feel like you're going to fall forward, you just have to throw one hand forward, and that'll help you spin off to the side so that you can come back down safely. Take plenty of time getting warmed up for your back squats today. At least 3 to 4 sets of 5. We're putting a lot of effort into those heavy sets of 6, so we want to make sure that we're well primed for those. Stay safe on those, lift heavy, but that 6th rep should be your last rep before technique starts to break down at all. Good luck on today's strength work, and we'll see you back soon for our Metcon.